Any other input or questions on this presentation?
When is final ranking going to be complete?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is we're waiting on the discretionary programs. So
See how much money, how many
yeah,
can be funded?
so it's part of the game. But maybe one of the things we can do in the interim, Mark, is the different variables that are being included into the index that we put together. We can share out with everyone so you can see what exactly those variables are that are inputs into the index, and then those preliminary results. You can see how things stack up and rank, just to provide some comment and input on that process.
Thank you.
All good?
Sorry to take off, but thank you for your time.
Mark's off to collect traffic counts. We want to get out before it's too horrendously horrendous out.
Right. So we're gonna move back to action item number 2A. The minutes. Has everyone taken a look at the draft minutes?
Move to approve?
We have a motion to approve. We have a second.
I'll second, but can we amend them to add myself in attendance? Because certainly.
All right, so are there any changes? We have a motion and a second. Are there any recommended changes to the minutes? Go ahead.
Just to add Jonathan as president.
So if we're all ready, we're gonna have a roll call vote, obviously. Where are we starting? Here or in Zoom?
Wherever you would like.
Or let's start right here. Bruce Woodruff, aye.
Marshall Goldberg, aye.
Michelle Mears, aye. Donna Benton, aye.
Jim Rummel, aye. Vanessa Price, aye. We have Tim White,
Yes.
Lee Levine.
I'm non-voting.
Okay, good point. Thank you. Barb
Yes.
and
That's unanimous. So we're going to move on to action item 2B. That's the 10-year plan criteria weighting. I did get an email from Colin. Colin told me that he thought that this was our main act and that he's going to send out the averaged criteria weightings. I'm not sure if I got that, but if you've got picked up the piece of paper over there at the table when you came in, it's printed out for you. I think the thing that he wanted to get across was that 8 people responded, and so this is an average of 8 people, I think, plus Colin or people at SRPC staff.
no, I don't believe we contributed.
Okay, so I think that what he's saying is that this isn't the last opportunity to vote on these weightings, but he recommends that we vote on them so scoring can be started.
Correct. So procedurally, typically what happens is the criteria weights come to you all here at TAC for your review and comment. If you concur with the average that was compiled, the vote is typically to recommend that policy approve the scoring weights. And so then this would go to policy in 2 weeks for their official and final blessing. Kind of jumping into those discussion item 3B, we set the weights and then we begin the scoring process. We are going to have a bit of an overlap between engineering review and project scoring. And we need to have everything done in October. Timing wise, things line up so that while we would have time at the November TAC meeting, they're due to DOT before the November policy meeting. So we kind of lose a month there in that process just due to the timing.
November 11th.
November 11th, correct.
So is this something new or is this every year?
Every 2 years,
You review,
yes.
so did anything change from the last?
You know, that is a very good question. If you give me 1 second, I can pull up what we had 2 years ago.
Oh, that was last year. Oh, I see, yeah.
Sorry. All right, so we make this one easy side by side. It's not going to be easiest to read. However, since the tables are the same. So this is on the right is 2020, and then really microscopic. See if I can. All right, so it looks like we've got a bit of some shifts here. So on the safety criteria, it looks like we were a little bit more evenly ranked in 2020 between the two sub criteria. If I'm seeing that correctly, it looks like it's about 9.5 thereabout. Safety definitely increased this go around. The mobility category looks like we stayed fairly consistent with a little bit of a shift. I still can't read that on the right, I'm sorry. In terms of network significance, it looks like it's slightly, well, it's slightly lower this go around, by like a percentage point on traffic volume and 2 points on facility importance, state of repair. The maintenance considerations looks like it went up a little bit, whereas just the general state of repair went down quite a bit. Natural hazard risks and mitigation, it's like mitigation went up, but otherwise the risks stayed about the same. Equity and accessibility came down. And then on terms of local economic development, again, also, let's see, freight mobility looks like it went up, no, came down a little bit, same with local economic development for the kind of the comparison.
What's the bottom one?
Not
2022.
applicable there, local support would have been the NA, sorry. Local support. Sorry, it doesn't have a sub criteria, so we were 9.2 a couple of years ago. We're like 3.9 this time. So really, safety went significantly up this go around. Look at the overalls. That's not going to show me where the line up here.
Basically, state of repair went up quite a bit from the last round to this round.
Yes, state of repair went up quite a bit. as well as safety went up quite a bit. That's the biggest change. Safety overall, it's more than a quarter this time. About 19% before. Kind of the biggest changes. So I guess the question for you is, do you concur with where we are and where the weights are set? If you didn't vote and submit your scores, do you still want to try and shift things in a different direction? Do you wish to manually adjust at this point?
But we're looking for a motion to recommend this to the policy.
Correct.
As it sits or as it,
As it sits or as you change it?
I don't believe that just a few more are gonna nudge those percentages too much in either direction. Anybody else have any comments? I don't see anybody, digital folks in Zoom land, I don't see them raising their hands. Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I will make a motion to accept the plan as proposed.
Recommend. Thank you, Marshall.
Second. Discussion.
Donna seconded.
Very good. Discussion on this, anyone? Call the vote. It's got to be a roll call vote. Guess who's first?
Shanna, yes?
Bruce Woodruff, yes.
Marshall Goldberg, yes.
Michelle, yes. Tyler Benton, yes.
Kim abstains.
That's president.
Online, we have Tim White,
Yes.
Bart,
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Jen, you rushed on this a little earlier, but 3B is first steps of the 10-year plan project development. We already talked about the criteria weighting. Is there anything else to say about that?
So just the timing that we're, the timeline that we're working with. I'm sorry, I lost my, packet. So timeline, Collins provided everyone with a timeline for where we are going on the 10-year plan process. That should be in your the packet that you received, but just for the folks online, let me just share my screen again so you have that timeline in front of you as well. So the next step is we are currently finalizing our contract with VHB. We had to go out to bid again because we had additional dollars that were allocated to us in the most recent WP that was above and beyond what we had originally in our contract with VHB. So that meant we could not add to and amend that contract to increase the dollars. We had to go out to bid again. So we had a little delay there in the process, but at least we are by the book and doing things properly. So that contract is wrapping up. We are simultaneously developing the task order while finalizing the contract so that we don't delay any further. The projects that Colin has received thus far, he has 5 projects that have come in. Those will be going to VHB for their review and evaluation. I know one of those projects, Michelle, it might be yours, was a summer's work, was developed by Hoyle Tanner. So just really needs a peer review, not necessarily the full, okay, thank you. So it doesn't need the full scoping and budgeting performed by VHB. They'll be turning those around as quickly as possible. So we'll all do our scoring while they're doing that. Hopefully it doesn't impact that scoring process, but that's something to just stay tuned. So you will be getting a packet. You will be getting a score sheet. The score sheet is actually in SurveyMonkey this go around, so it should be a little bit easier to navigate, and you'll get like a supplemental packet of information on each of the projects so that you can evaluate them. The scoring that you'll be seeing will just be focused on those criteria that are subjective in nature. Those that are objective in nature, Colin and Mark have already gone through and pulled all of the data for them and put in those scores. Those are things that doesn't matter who does it. There's only one right answer for those. You know, how many accidents are there in the site? If it's so many, you know, you fall into this rank, that rank, etc. So stay tuned. Those will be coming out. As we noted, we need to finalize our recommendations on the scoring at the October meeting, so that we can send our preliminary list of projects to DOT by November 11th. This will not be the last time that we see the projects. DOT will then do their own internal review, send back any comments and what they see as being able to fit within our 10-year plan allocation. And then you will have time in approximately February to finalize and our vote on what we are submitting into the 10-year plan process. So that's where we're at. At this point, we do not know what our allocation will be of funds for the 10-year plan. In the past several rounds, we've had 4.9 million that we can allocate to the last 2 years of the 10-year plan. With the IIJA, there is additional dollars that has come in for transportation projects. One of the concerns, though, is those dollars are being consumed before they actually can go towards new projects, because inflation is outpacing the increase in funding levels. So what we're trying to figure out right now with DOT is just how those dollars are going to be split up. The RPC directors, we're meeting with Bill Watson, who's the administrator for planning and community assistance, next week to kind of follow up on a prior conversation that he had with us. I believe in the interim, he has met with the commissioner's office to talk about those plans. So hopefully we'll know a little bit more next week. So we'll let y'all know. So I think that's kind of in a nutshell, where we are and where we're headed.
Any comments or questions from anyone? Let's move on to number 4 then. Other business?
So we do have another business item that Colin apologized for. Ricky has some information that he would like to share with us here today. So he's in an update here. Ricky, I have your presentation. Do you want me to share that for you, or?
I can share it if that's easier for you. It doesn't really matter though.
Apparently, I tried to open the Microsoft Store and accidentally go for it.
I can't share it if you're sharing, I think.
I'm still sharing, but that's not helpful. I shouldn't be trusted in posting.
Just 1 second. Get this all up.
Speak for the birds.
All right, I know it's like.
All right. Can everyone see the presentation?
No, because I'm blocking it.
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. Great. Hi. I'm Ricky DeSillo, as introduced. I'm working with Department of Environmental Services. I am here to just give a brief overview of the clean diesel program. You may have heard of this from the past. I just wanted to touch on a few things that are making this year a little different. I want to be respectful of everyone's time, so I'll kind of shorten this presentation down. I'll say up top that everything is online. This presentation I sent out It should have all of the links that are clickable if you want more details. So I'll just kind of breeze through this and you can go into some details if you'd like. I also say that we are having a webinar next week on the 9th at 10 in the morning. And I'll go into a little more detail about stuff then too. So if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them now or by email or at the webinar. So there we go. This year, we have an anticipated funding pool of $1.4 million for reimbursement projects to reduce diesel emissions. A lot of these projects tend to be vehicle replacements. So if somebody owns a older diesel engine or diesel vehicle or a piece of diesel equipment they want to replace with a newer diesel, or if they have any diesel that they would like to replace with something like electric version, a propane version, or a compressed natural gas version, this program can fund those replacements. It can also replace some installation of, it can also fund some, like idle reduction technologies and other upgrades that might reduce diesel emissions. This program is open now. The first round of funding closes on September 9th. If there are still funds left over after that, we'll hold another round of funding. If there's funds left over after round 1, we'll accept applications through November and then also through January for round 3 if there's still funds available. I'll just kind of leave this up for a moment so you can read this, but again, I want to kind of move through this quickly. Like I said, this is $1.4 million. It's a combination of federal funds, matching funds from the state's Volkswagen Trust, and bonus funds through the federal funds for making that match. Plus, we have some funds left over from last year. So all that's adding up to that 1.4 million. Like I said, there are projects that can kind of replace or upgrade a diesel that already exists, or you can install plugins. This also applies for plugins for like a truck stop. If you want a truck stop to have electric pedestal so the trucks don't have to idle overnight, or at marine vessels at ports. So a couple of example projects, replacing school buses with electric school buses. You may have heard of the EPA Clean School Bus Program, which is a great opportunity to fully fund clean school buses and electric school buses. This is that program is a lottery, whereas this one is competitive. So this may be another avenue if you want to get more funds. Replacing older diesel plow trucks with new diesel plow trucks is a really popular option, especially in New Hampshire. Replacing old diesel like wheeled loaders, side skids, bulldozers, stuff like that. Drayage trucks, refuse trucks, etc. So just a couple of things I want to call out. The eligibility for the vehicles, there's a few specifics. Some of them are specific to the type of vehicle. For instance, if it's an on-road vehicle, it has to be class 5 or higher. So this cannot replace or modify somebody's, small light-duty pickup truck that happens to run on diesel. This is more for those larger vehicles. That doesn't apply for, a marine vessel or an off-road engine, of course. But and the request for proposals document has sort of the list of here are some of the major criteria that have to be met for the eligibility. They have to be in regular usage. The idea is to reduce as much diesel emissions as possible. And so if it's something that barely gets used and kind of just sits in the garage all year and gets maybe once a year kind of thing, it might not be eligible. If a project replaces a vehicle, the old vehicle has to be scrapped and rendered unable to be used. This is a federal requirement, the idea being that the older diesels especially should just never be used again because they're going to keep polluting. And I'll just kind of move through this kind of quickly. This is a matching grant and it's reimbursement based, but the percentages sort of in that second column to the left will kind of give you an idea of, this isn't all of the projects that are possible, but for some of the bigger projects, that's some of the more popular projects. For a diesel swap, replacing an old plow truck with a new plow truck, this grant can fund 25% of that. And if you're looking to upgrade that to an alternate fuel or an electric vehicle, that can fund 35 or 45% of that project costs. And If you're going for an electric, it could also include the charger cost in that 45%. Here's the scoring criteria. Again, all of this is online, but I just want to call out again, the first criterion is cost effectiveness of emissions reductions. So the amount of emissions reduced sort of divided by the cost of the project. I want to call this out because I had a question a few presentations ago that they wondered if a smaller project would be able to compete with a larger project. And this is sort of the balancing factor there. A larger project will probably reduce more emissions, but will probably cost proportionately more. Whereas a smaller project, while it will reduce less emissions, potentially, it could also potentially cost less. So if you have a big project or a small project, I want to encourage application anyway. It's not going to really hold you back if it's one plow truck if you're imagining some other applicant has 6 plow trucks they want to replace. Those could be proportionally equal potentially, and that is a 45-point scoring criterion. So it's a very dominating factor. As well, there's 25 points bonus for replacement with alternative fuels. Up to 25 points, and up to bonus points of 10 extra bonus points if the applicant is a government entity or in contract with one. So that would include municipalities, state agencies, school districts, colleges, universities, etc. So like I said, we have a webinar coming up on the 9th. You can remember it as if it's August 9th at 10 a.m., it is 8, 9 at 10. We will close, we will look at applications submitted by September 9th for round 1. If funding remains, we'll look at everything that was submitted up through November 1st for round 2. If funding still remains, we'll look at everything that was submitted up through January 1st. A sticking point that I want to address right now, all projects must be completed by September 30th, 2023. We've had some feedback about this. We understand, of course, that there is a significant supply chain delay in a lot of the important parts of this project's requirements. So we've talked to EPA about this, and at the federal level, they will consider extensions on a case-by-case basis for us. But I have a feeling that they will approve it, and so I encourage applicants to apply anyway, even if September 30th seems dicey. We've gotten approvals in the past for these extensions. EPA is encouraging people to apply anyway. Yesterday, I finalized paperwork for 2 more extensions, if that gives you an idea of the likelihood of extensions being given. I can't guarantee it, of course, it's entirely based on EPA's approval. But I encourage people to apply, even if that 30th deadline is a little dicey. And we're here to help. And if this process seems complicated, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask us for assistance. And just reading through the document, if you're not sure about something, if you have an idea of what this is saying, but you want to just hear from a person, yes or no, I can give you some advice as to how to determine the eligibility of your project, as well as technical support. If you're just having trouble downloading the form, even let me know. I'll do my best. And we can talk about projects that have gone through in the past. Those are all public information, of course. We can talk pretty easily about what has been funded if you want an idea of what kind of thing is out there. I can't help you get this grant approved. I can just help you submit it. But I also want to mention that we have the Granite State Clean Cities Coalition. Jessica, do you want to come on and just talk a little bit about the support you can provide?
Certainly. Thanks so much, Ricky. Yeah, you guys have seen me before, both in person, now virtual. My goodness, where has technology taken us? But I just wanted to circle back with everyone, because with all this funding coming through, as Ricky mentioned, the bipartisan infrastructure law is opening up a lot of funding for clean school buses, for electric vehicle charging stations, and now we have state DERA funding that's now available, 1.4 million. I mean, a lot of money is coming online, and we know that developing projects is not an easy thing. Whether it's getting the partnerships in place at the local level, whether it's navigating technical questions, figuring out where to go for just basic information. So there's a lot of technical support available both here at NHDES and through the Clean Cities program that I've mentioned I coordinate here in our state, and we're hosted at DES, so just access to a lot of experts here. But additionally, at the federal level, the Joint Office of Energy and Transportation, who was basically formed through the bipartisan infrastructure law to kind of help navigate all this funding that's coming online through the federal transit, federal highways, EPA, they're also offering technical assistance. So you've got it coming from Clean Cities here at the local level. You've also got it coming at the federal level. And this is basically for any general questions or really just technical questions that you all might encounter as you're developing these clean transportation projects. So keep us in mind. We can facilitate connections. We can help get you the right resources and tools and help you understand how to use those tools as well. We know that capacity is a big issue in a lot of our towns and communities. So we just want to make sure that you folks know that there are resources here within the state and beyond that are here to serve and help you through that. And additionally, Clean Cities, we do a lot of webinars and events. We actually have one coming up on September 1st, highlighting electric trash trucks. We've got New York City Transportation Fleet Manager coming on to talk about their electric Mack refuse haulers that they're using in the city, as well as a couple of vendors that are going to come on and talk about just different sizes of trash trucks. So if you're interested, I can drop a link in the chat for the registration for that September 1st webinar. Thank you all for your time. Thank you again, Ricky. Turn it over to you.
Thanks, Jessica. So yeah, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We have resources, and we are happy to talk with you about project ideas. My contact information is here. Jessica's is here as well. There's also a link to the website, which has the forms you'll want to read. And this link also is to the webinar, which again is on the 9th if you want more information. Again, I'm happy to answer questions if there's time now. And also, please feel free to shoot me an email, give me a call whenever you feel like it. So anyway, that's my time. Again, if there's questions, I'd be happy to answer them now. But otherwise, thanks.
We're looking for questions. Must have been awful good, Ricky. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
We're down to two things, but possibly three. Community updates.
We're gearing, sorry, we're gearing up for our Mpo certification review. This is something we do every 3 to 4 years. So we'll be working with our counterparts at Federal Highways and Federal Transit, Department of Transportation. Targeted review date of November 14th. So that'll be an on-site meeting. I know typically they look to meet with representatives from both the TAC and the policy committees, as well as we do a series of different presentations to provide those updates to the federal team on what we've been working on in the last several years. So,
Seeing no other community update speakers, I think. We're going to move on to citizen forum. I'm not sure if we have any citizens here or online. The answer is no. So I'm looking at the last agenda, item number 6. I'm looking for a motion. Motion. Okay. Second.
do not need a roll call.
I'll second that. Now we're going to have a roll call. Shannon?
Yes. Sorry.
Bruce Woodruff, yes.
Marshall Goldberg, yes.
Michelle, yes. Donna Benson, yes. Kimberly, yes.
Vanessa Price. Sam?
adjourn.
Art, thank you.